know with all that like love and support and from everybody that, my heart is full, and I hope that you all find value in our conversation this morning. So I feel a little like Jim Rohn, when he said, I can't wait to see what I have to say. And, next year for me will be 30 years in Herbalife. February 1991, I had my first shake. And it's also going to be 30 years that I was introduced to the magic of Jim Rohn and personal development. And, I think that can be maybe your first note that you take, your first motivational note that you can take is that, you can be in the business for almost 30 years and be a 30K President's Team member and still be nervous to share, share what's in your heart. And, but that doesn't stop you, because as a leader, and we're all leaders here, we feel what we feel, and then we keep going because that's how, we teach others to learn and grow. And, needless to say, for me, finding Herbalife and finding Jim Rohn changed my life. Up until that point, I was 36. I'm 66 now. I was 36, and I had a great life, but I had a lot of things that had gone on in my life. I was casual about a lot of things. I was casual about my finances. I was casual about my relationships. I was casual about my commitments, casual about my word. And Jim Rohn always says, casualness breeds casualties. And I really ended up, with a lot of casualties. So I made a decision to really become a serious student of personal development and to choose a better direction for my life. I read books. I read all the books I could get my hands on. I had a cassette tape of Jim Rohn. I know, like a lot of you, that's a relic, a cassette tape. But I had that cassette tape and I played that tape, like over and over and over and over again in my car until it just like fell apart, and every day I put that tape on and it kind of set my mindset and put new thoughts in my head that I had never just didn't know about, but that really helped me, to start applying the principles and start applying the concepts that I was learning. And it really changed my thinking and it changed me for the better. So Jim Rohn says, and there's a lot of, there's going to be a lot of Jim Rohn. And just as a side note, if you don't have a lot of Jim Rohn in your personal library, I would recommend putting that in your notes as something to do this week, to find, some books, to find some recordings, to have a daily practice of listening to Jim Rohn, listening to Mark Hughes, because those words are timeless, and not only timeless just in principles, but timeless for us in Herbalife. So put that in your notes. And he says for things to change, you have to change. And for things to get better, you have to get better. So over the years, I've really reaped the benefits of personal development. I just see it on a daily basis, the impact that, all of these years of investing in myself and investing in others has paid off. But I've never, the value of the personal development became most apparent this past year for me. And the reason is because in my personal experience last March, 2 days after we came home from the Singapore honors, my husband Ron fell and hit his head. And after a 2-month stay in the hospital, he came home with a severe traumatic brain injury. Hardly any memory of his life, and a language disorder, a language processing disorder called aphasia, which essentially means all the incoming words and outgoing words are just jumbled, So it's, I've been taking care of him at home since last May, along with my 93-year-old mom, Anne. And, they're like my people. So it's excuse me. So it's it's a joy to do it, but it's also, a big obstacle, sometimes on a daily basis. But I truly believe that obstacles come to us to teach us, and they really give us a chance to go deeper and to look within and to grow and to change in ways that we sure wouldn't have asked for, we sure wouldn't have set up. But then in the end, we get to see things and just be at a whole nother level that we didn't even know, was possible. And I really feel, especially in these times, but just in life in general, that we all have obstacles. You know, they they're all, and it's all relative. It doesn't have to be like the most traumatic one, or like obstacles are obstacles. And I feel that, a lot of what I've gone through over this past year, there's been some valuable things that I've learned and that I've seen, and I thought, that I could share just a few of those key points with you. I'm going to share three of them, and hopefully that you'll get some value out of that too. And even if just one person, sees something for themselves, then I'll be happy. I did my job. All right, so I have 3 points I want to share with you. So if you're ready, say ready. Get your notes out. And I have some notes here with me just so I don't like totally derail. Thank you. I see all your readiness. That's awesome. All right. Okay. The first one is habits. So habits. Let's see, where's my book here to show you? Habits. All right. So as James Clear says in his book, here's the book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. As he says in his book, we all deal with setbacks, but in the long run, the quality of our lives often depends on the quality of our habits. And a habit is a routine or a behavior that is performed regularly. And in most cases, it just becomes automatic. And, that can happen, but, like in a negative way. You can think right away, if you start thinking like, what are some of my habits? You can see that you have habits that serve you, habits that you've put in place that, move you forward to where you want to go. Oh, thanks. I just looked at the chat. That move you forward, where you want to go. And then there's habits that just take you away, take you in the other direction. There's an interesting point that he says in his book, like about, a plane leaving from LA, destination is New York. Okay. If that nose of that plane is just like a few degrees, you can't even really see it, but it's a few degrees to the right, you're going to end up over time in Washington, D.C. instead of New York, just a small, little adjustment. So those habits are critical, and we really overestimate the impact and the power of like the big event, but we underestimate the power of those consistent actions that happen on a daily basis. And they're really the thing that get us to where we want to go or don't get us to where we want to go. So I recommend, first of all, getting the book, but I also recommend, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to, put those habits in place, to do a self inventory, to really look at the things that you do that make up your day, and look and see, like, like if you have little habits that are like, oh, it's not that big a deal. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, but over time, it's going to end you in a wrong place. So Napoleon Hill always talks about taking a personal inventory. Take a personal inventory and see, like, just be honest with yourself. What are my habits that I have? Write this in your notes. What habits do I have that support me? What habits do I already have in place? Because you're all leaders. You all already have arrived. You all already are awesome. So you all already have things in place that make a difference. So you want to look and see, what do I have in place? What do I have, that already works for me? And what do I have in place that's, it's a little sloppy, like for me, I have I have some great habits. And one of the reasons I'm sharing this with you is because all that went on this last year, the reason that that it came through and the reason that I'm thriving actually is because I had such a strong foundation in place over the years of my physical habits, of taking care of myself, of my, like my eating habits. I cook for myself. I eat really good food. I take my products every day. I've never missed in 30 years, never missed my products, so I have those in place. I have like my spiritual practice and my spiritual habits in place, whatever that is for you. For me, it's yoga, for meditation, those things. But they are like handles, that are in place, and you put them in place now. You don't put them in place like when you're, you know, when you need them. I mean, if you have to, you have to, but the idea is put them in place ahead of time so that when something happens, you can stay focused, stay clear. And like one of my habits I'm working on right now is my cleaning habits. I got good financial habits, good eating habits, good exercise habits, but my cleaning habits are like not good. And that became really apparent with the quarantine. So I'm working on that. Okay, let's see. Habit. I don't want to talk about habits the whole time because, so you got the point about the habits, and get this book. It's an awesome book. Helps you change your habits like from the core, not just from the end result. But the second one is neglect. Okay, second one in your notes is neglect. And, Jim Rohn says they all kind of tie together, but Jim Rohn says, what's easy to do is easy not to do. So, I just really want to emphasize to you, do not neglect the things you should do. Take care of the things you should do. And a lot of that has to do with the conversation that, is not comfortable for people. People don't like to talk about things like, taking care of really taking care of your finances, really taking care of your estate planning. A lot of you guys are young, you're flying, you're like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about that. But, put in place like your will, put in place like what you want to have happen, like ongoingly in case something happens. I mean, look, we didn't plan for Ron to fall 2 days after we got home, but like Ron has no memory. You know what I mean? I can't ask him any questions now about like where stuff is. But Ron is such a man of integrity and such a planner and so prepared. Like everything was like in place and squeaky clean. And he left me a trail, so not only was I dealing with what I was dealing with, but I had to take on everything and running the business, running the family, running all of it. And he just like had it all like, all set. So think for a minute, like how, like what would happen if something happened to me? Is my family taken care of? Is my stuff all in order? And anything you think of in this conversation, write it down in your notes. Just write it down and take care of it, The next thing, so that's neglect, because neglect, like Jim Rohn says, it's like a disease. It will erode your self-confidence, it will erode your self-esteem, and little by little you'll think that you can't do things, but you can. It's just like you're neglecting the little things that make up the big things, frankly. Okay, so my last one, the last point that I want to talk about is don't waste time. Do not waste time. If I could leave you with one thing that I would like to motivate you for this Motivational Monday, it is like, do not waste time. Do not wait for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. There's like every motivational speaker, every personal development speaker, everybody like way back to like the Bible talks about, you do what you can with what you have and you do it now. You just do it. You take what you have and you get started. And then, once you do that, you'll be able to see from a different vantage point. You'll be led a little further along the path, and then you'll be given the information that you need to do your next step. But we get so rigid in our thinking. Sometimes it's either or. Like, well, if I don't have I'll wait until I have I'll wait till I'm the perfect weight for me to to go, like, do something, or for me to share with my friends. I'll wait until I have the, till I'm ready. You won't ever be ready. Like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I wasn't ready this morning. I was like, last night I was thinking, like, why did they ask me? Like, I don't, what am I going to say? And then I was like, like, chill out. You know, we're all like valuable and have things to share, and you won't ever be ready. You just got to go for it. And what I do now, because my life is a little full, like, I have a plan in the morning to do what I'm going to do, and it rarely goes that way. I have two people that require what they require when they require it, so I like kind of steer around it. But I ask myself all the time, like, what can I do now? What can I do now? So when I have a plan of something I want to do, and I do that, I write my schedule, and I have my goal, that I want to accomplish at some point, and I'm flexible with it. But I ask myself, what can I do now to move myself forward? And sometimes, frankly, what I can do now is pray. Okay. What I can do now is just love. What I can do now is laugh, and then that leads me to, okay, what I can do now is I can take an action, to move me forward. And often we get upset and we get stressed out and we suffer because it doesn't look like our picture of how we think it should look. We think it should look a certain way. We think it should unfold a certain way. A lot of times the universe has a different plan. Like, no, that's not how it's going to unfold. So you just got to do what you can do. Ask yourself, what can I do now? And I break my day up into 15-minute segments. So I have, like, everything is in 15-minute segments. So I figure, like, I can juggle and adjust in like a 15-minute time frame. So, sometimes, like, I'll get like I'll have a plan that I want to do, and I'll get started, like, I'll do my 15 minutes, and then I'll have to come back to finish it. But then I ask, okay, what can I do now? What can I do now? And that, blending it together instead of that either or rigid thinking is really valuable, because it just gives you access to, a lot more, things, ways to do things. Because, Mark Hughes would tell us, like, just get a little better each day, get a little better each day. In this book that James Clear talks about, like, just 1% better each day, 1% better each day. And over time, that's really going to unfold to have you be where you want to be, and you're already on such a great path because you're here. You're in Herbalife. I mean, you're already, like, in such a great place and in such a great path, that's why I just say, like, don't waste time. Like, stay focused, especially in, like, you young people. I remember um being in a training, oh my gosh, years ago. I think it was right before we got right before our second and third diamond. Our first is Johnny's, and then Danny and Graham and Candace, and like, okay, I can't go there. But the thing about it is, I was in a training with Dan Waldron, and he had just gone through a tough time, and he was, like, back on his feet. He was, like, talking about really, like, focus. And when you have, like, everything in place, when you have, like, a clear shot, when you have, like, the time and the energy and the focus and everything, like, you just put your blinders on, you put your foot on the accelerator, and you just do not look up. You do not look sideways. You do not, like, you just stay focused, and you just go, because it won't always be like that. It's just like, that's how life is. That's like the peaks and valleys. Like, that's all the stuff that happens and comes at us. And if we really make those big strides and really, like, stay focused when we have that shot, then when, like, the winters come, as Jim Rohn says, then we can just, stay, just, like, level, stay, don't lose ground, like, stay, put in all those things that, we had already put in place, and just, like, rest on those for a little bit until we can, take that shot again. But that always stuck with me. It was that powerful message that Dan gave us. And, that was, we did that, we did that because we had that straight shot. And thankfully, we're like where we are and have all these things in place so that, I've built up resilience in this time so that, it can kind of bend with the wind instead of snapping and breaking. So all of these things that I talked about, will help you build resilience, help you, stay being a leader because you're leading your team, you're leading your family, you're leading yourself. And as a leader, you can't run in the dugout and take everybody with you. If something uncomfortable happens, you've got to like stay the course and lead, even if it's just yourself. So, see if I have anything else here. No, I think I covered everything. Wow. That's great. So in closing, I have a request of each of you that you think about and write something in your notes that needs to be taken care of. Like write something down that you've been avoiding, write something down that you've been putting off until later, and take action on it to complete it this week. Might not be complete this week, but at least you take action to get it started so that you can feel like solid and in integrity with yourself and with your with your business and with your life. And it will give you give back much more than you think. So we're almost finished here. So thank you so much for the gift of your attention, for your love, for your support, and I love you all. Happy Monday.
Wow, Carol, thank you.